Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining. I'm glad that you joined. Today we are going to discuss RESTCONF. Okay, this is very important topic in network automation. So we'll discuss it today. We'll start from zero and we'll reach hero. So okay, that's fine. But for now, just don't think about RESTCONF or network automation. Just relax and listen to my story. Like some days before, like 1 or 2 years ago, I started building a website where users can open my website and they can read my blogs. Okay, simple website. But soon after I created this website, I realized it is good to have authentication mechanism, right? To authenticate the users who are logging in. And if they authenticated, then only I should show my content. That's my idea. But uh, like creating a database, storing username, passwords, it's very tedious task for me to do at that time. I don't have much time. So when I am searching for ways in some other websites, I do have seen a button called sign in with Google. That means somehow they are getting authentication from Google. How they are getting it? Or sign in from GitHub, sign in from Facebook. I've seen all these buttons. Somehow they are getting authentication from Google. And then I dived deeper and did my research and found this beautiful, very good way that is called API. Okay, Google do have API. Okay, API. API stands for application. Let me write it fast. Application Programming Interface. Okay, Google do have application programming interface, which lets us communicate with this API lets us communicate with Google server, and we can send request to it and we can get a back response. If you see, this API is also a software, right, or computer program, and the one which is sending requests and getting response, my portal, this is also a software. I used Python Flask web framework to develop this, so this is also a software. And by using this Google API, I am able to communicate with one software to other software. This is the textbook definition for API. API is a way to communicate to provide communication between one computer program to other computer program. That is the textbook definition of API. API, Application Programming Interface, is providing an interface or bridge. Now in my case, Google API is providing me a bridge to request server something and get response. Okay. Previously, like long ago, what server used to do? Server used to just store HTML pages, just storing HTML pages, and we'll go one folder by one folder. Like if this is www.books.com slash uh, genre horror, like this is one folder, this is one folder, like that. It used to go one folder by folder, and finally it will get .html file, which it will just throw on our browser and it will open up. That is the concept in olden days, like long ago. But now this is not at all the case. Now we do have an API for everything. Okay, we have some application programming interface to interact with the server programmatically. Whenever we ask something, it will hit it will hit this server. It will hit this server and run a command. it will hit this server and run a command and throws back the output as response. So how it is able to do all these things? Okay, API is a way to communicate between one computer program to another computer program. That's it. Simple. Okay. Previously it used to go one by folder and get that HTML page, but now it is going there and running a command and getting that specific thing as response. That is what changed. So this application programming interface stands for application programming interface. This is giving us interface or bridge to talk to that API. Okay. So what is the protocol it uses? It uses HTTP protocol, which we do daily. HTTPS more secure thing. So which we do daily. What we type in the browsers, browsers URL bar, HTTPS something, right? So it is hitting some API. Okay, it can hit some server like before, like I said, right? Folder structure something. So it can do that, but almost all companies are now using API. It will hit an API and API process your request and provides you the response. Simple. So in my case, I just enrolled in Google API. I went to their portal, Google API portal, and I enrolled or logged, registered, and they gave me a key. And with that key, I can use HTTP protocol and hit their server. I can ask them like, hey, can you please authenticate this user? And it will provide you the authentication response. Yes, authenticated. No, not authenticated. Something like that. But I'm making it very simple, but actually it does a whole lot of things there. Like a request, after sending the request, it will send you the page, like sign in page of Google. That HTML page it will send, and after hitting the username and password, it will take that and do its verification thing, and it will send back OK message. That means authenticated. It will do like that, but it's topic for another day. But for now, just remember how API. What is API? API stands for application programming interface, and it is an interface to communicate with the other software. Okay, that company software, and communicate is nothing but sending request and getting response. Okay, that's it. And it uses HTTPS protocol. And what can we do in the server? What operations can we perform in that server? We can do CRUD operations. CRUD. C stands for create, R stands for read, U stands for update, D stands for delete. So we can create a resource, we can read a resource, we can update a resource, and we can delete a resource. So for these CRUD operations, for each CRUD operations, we do have one HTTP method because it uses HTTP protocol. What is the method to create? Post. Reading comes to get method. U means update. What is the method? Update. The method is put or patch. Okay. D for delete. Same operation, same method. Okay, once I open up, like we will definitely and one more thing, we do have public APIs and private APIs. That is also important. Public, anyone can use. Private, only some can use. That nothing with this. And to use an API, they will provide you one key. Some don't have authentication at all, but most of them will provide you key. They'll give you username and password and also some hash key to get yourself authenticated. Okay, and then only they'll give you a response. That is the one thing. And now let me put it there. Okay, And now that is one thing. We just remember this: get, post, put and patch, delete. Okay. What else we should take? Let me check my notes. Yeah, we just did this. Okay. Okay. While sending responses, I said HTTP is the protocol which is used, right? So while sending responses, oh sorry, while sending request, we do have something in the request packet or some or whatever. Okay, what is that? What do we have? We have resource URI to hit, like www.bookstore.com. This is the resource URL to hit: bookstore.com, books, API, and like this is the URI to hit. And we also do have headers. Okay, we also do have headers. What are headers? Like body. And let me tell you something, we also do have headers, body, and authorization. As I said, key or username, password to authenticate yourself to that API so that it can provide response. Okay, if we like I'll definitely open up one good public API and show you all this, then it will be clear for you. Okay, so just realize, like API is something which provide talk or communication between software to software. It uses HTTPS protocol, and API can make, using API we can make CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete on the server. And these are the like adjacent methods or subsequent methods for those CRUD operations: read, get, see, post, uh, update means put or patch, delete. Okay, like put or get means just getting the resource, putting, post means we are just out creating the resource in the server, delete means deleting. But put patch, what is put patch? Put is some put is put is like replacing the record. Okay, patch is just changing one field in the record. If this is the, if record have many fields, it will just change one field. It will all make sense when we open up one API and check. Just stay tuned. Okay, now we also have this I'll tell you now. Okay, now we'll just try to log into one API. Okay, we do have open weather API, something called open weather. Open weather. Okay, this is sorry. Yeah, we got open weather API. By the name itself, you might have guessed, nothing but if we send request, if we send some request, according to the request, like as per the city name or as per the longitude, latitude, it will provide you the weather updates. That is what done by this weather API. Okay. So where is it? Where is it? How can we see? And one more thing, we do have API documentation. API documentation gives us some insights, not insights, some provides us some rules. How can we interact? It gives us some rules by which we can interact with that API. Without following these rules, we cannot interact with that particular API. That is one thing. Okay, how to make an API call? Yeah, we want this. Hmm, I said right. We are supposed to have one key to interact with the APIs. So my API key. Oh, let me log in. See, this is my API key with which I can interact with OpenWeather API. So to check everything, what is header, what is authorization, what is body, how we are getting response. To get all this information, we do have one good tool for API testing, that is Postman. Okay, this is the tool. Just click here. We'll try to interact with Open Weather API now. See, this is the URL to hit first. Send. What happens? We got 200 okay, and this is HTML page. All that HTML page, like, yeah, this code. All this code I got it there. But that is what we want it. We want, right? We want something else. So this is the one, I guess. Yeah. We don't want HTML page, yeah. We want some, let me put Lucknow here. And what is my API key? I already stored this API key here, so let me put it here. This is my API key. When I send this request, see, I got all the details about the weather. What is the weather? Temperature. This is in Fahrenheit, I guess. All the weather report. So with this JSON, you can do anything, right? You can create web pages or anything. That is the thing. So API gives us ability to talk with that software and get whatever information we need. See, clouds, all three, something, all the information. So I'll give you an idea. Using this weather API, you can create one web application. How? You can create a web application like as per the weather. Take if weather is above 30 degrees Celsius. Like we got everything in JSON, right? We can fetch, that is key value pairs. We already discussed JSON. So this is key value pairs. Just put the temperature. If temperature is greater than 35, if temperature is greater than 35, then create a graphic like full hot sun, something like that. By this we can create web application, weather web application. We can just go to that open API, get response, customer, put a drop down. Customer should select like city name and send this REST API call. REST API call will give you response with the temperature. According to temperature, change the graphic. Cool means put some snow, hot means sun, something like that, clouds, and we can create one good web application with this. So now our web application is talking with Open Weather API. That means it is enabling communication between software to software, which is API definition. Okay, now we understood the concept. As I said, there are headers. Like with that API call, we should also send these headers. All these headers are not that much important, but see, parameters. This is app ID, city name, all this. Okay, so now we discussed everything. And one more thing I forgot to discuss, that is, okay, we realize what API is, but people are saying REST API, REST API. What is difference between API and what makes this API REST? So API is nothing but using HTTP, sending requests and getting response, right? So this REST API is more disciplined version or more strict version of API. How it made strict? They do have rules. If API should be RESTful or REST API, then it should be it should follow this statelessness criteria. What is statelessness? Statelessness means the API server should not store any information. Like I'm here, Elliot. I send some request to this server and it send response. That's it. The server should not store my name or anything. Every time I should send request with authorization like username, password or key. Every call should be unique, every call should be independent, and every call should have all the parameters this API needed to process. That is called statelessness. And something called uniform interface. Uniform interface means that base URL is there, right? https bookstore.com. This base URL should be uniform. It should be same for all the calls. It should not change. If you want to access horror books, then it should not change here. This should be uniform. And one more thing is there, the client server model. Yes, client server should be decoupled. That means client should not depend on server and server should not depend on client. If our API follow all these rules, all these three rules, then it is called RESTful API, REST API. Okay, now we also checked one, what to say, we logged into one API, one weather API and got response as well. Okay, we got this headers as response in the response, and we got this as body of the response packet. And one more thing we should discuss about this status codes as well. I got this here. See, these are the response codes. One hundred response codes I never got them. 100 to 199, but those are informational, normal. 2, if we got status code of 200 or something, then it's like sub tick hai, like all good. 200 okay, 201 created. If you want to post something, then we'll get 201 created. If you like, if you don't have anything in the body, then we get no content. Redirection is something what, like when one server sends you a request to other server, then these status codes will come. And client error means if you mess up the URL, or if you don't follow the API documentation and do something else, at that time we'll get this type of responses, bad request. And if you are not authorized to get into that API and get information, then unauthorized. And if there is no such thing, like recently we requested temperature of Lucknow, if that API don't have, then it will send not found. And server error, sometimes maintenance or power failure or something shuts the server, then it will come server failure for 404 gateway timeout. 404 not found is very popular, right? 504 gateway timeout, something. All these are error codes. Based on that, we can test the APIs. Okay. See here, this is 200. Okay, because everything went good. Then it is 200. Okay. See, now I'll put some wrong API key. What happens? 401 unauthorized because key is wrong. Let me mess up with this. Same 401 unauthorized. Let me put something bad request, I guess. Not found. Okay, that type of request will come. And now comes to network automation thing again. Where is my blackboard? Yeah. And now come to network automation. So we know how what API is, how it became REST API, and what are the methods we use, and what are that's it, right? And response codes. We know all this. Everything can be applied in network automation. How? I said API server, right? API, right? Our network device can become, our network device also do have API in it. So we can interact with that API and we can request configuration and we can get response in the format which we like. Whatever format you like, you'll get. in that format. If you like JSON, you'll get in JSON. If you write XML, you'll get in XML. If you want anything like any other format, simple text format, you'll get. We can request configuration and we can get response, and we can hone in and be specific in that configuration. I do have something in Cisco, like I do have Cisco iOS device where I will log in, like where I will send API request and get responses. I'll show that as well now. So that is the thing. So this device, all most of our current network devices do have this REST API inbuilt, so we can interact with it same like we interact with public APIs and get configuration. Okay, so that's it about this thing. So we'll now do some practical things. So I said, how this URL structure looks. Let me see. So this URL structure looks like this. URL. This structure for when we are interacting with the network devices, this URL structure looks like IP address or any resolvable host name also we can put it here, address. Okay, it will be like this, and then we have yeah, we got root. Okay, this is the base URI, and after this root we have data store. What is data store? Data store is like which type of configuration you want: running configuration, candidate configuration, startup config, something like that. Okay, and after that we got Yang model. You already know about Yang models, IETF, OpenConfig, those Yang models. We are leveraging those Yang models in RESTConf as well, not only in NetConf. What is the main difference and advantage of RESTConf over NetConf? In NetConf, we get data or response in XML format. We are supposed to convert it to dictionary XML to using the dict, and we are supposed to analyze, get some, and again send response in XML format. But using RESTConf, you can get data in JSON. JSON is nothing but dictionary, like just like dictionary. We can have key value pairs, and we can make manipulations to the configuration easily. Yes. And after Yang models, we have container and then leaf. Now I should recall that concept of Yang modeling. What is Yang? Yang is a modeling language, not a model. Using that Yang modeling, we created IETF, open config, something like that. Okay, in that Yang modeling, what we have? First we have model, and in that we got container and we got leaf. Model example, IETF interfaces. Contain and IETF interfaces do have some container. Every interface is a container. Every interface name information is stored in a container, and in that container we have leaves. Leaves means interface name, interface IP address, something like this. Okay, this is very important. Let me do ask me questions if you have any. This is the URI structure of RESTConf. Okay, if you want to interact with routers or switches or any sort of network device using RESTConf, you will follow this URI structure only and interact with that programmatically. How we will convert this, like this is HTTP request which we put in browser, but how we can convert into Python script, that also I'll tell you. But for now, just think about it. Okay, now we'll try to get into one Router I do have in as a sandbox in Cisco environment somewhere in US. I'll try to reach that router first. Where is my Solakoti? This is the router I do have. So we'll try to reach it using SSH first. I should connect this. Okay, leave it. Let me connect to another router because that have some issues. Let me connect to this router. Start session. Oh, it faces. Okay. Admin, I guess. That's right. Show IP in brief. So these are the interfaces in that router. But for now, we will fetch the same interfaces using HTTP. And one more thing I forgot to tell you, like this router should have HTTP enabled to do all this. Okay, RESTCONF enabled, but we already do have. But I'll tell you the commands. Just remember that RESTCONF is one command. Oh, first we should be in that command. Conft for sorry, really sorry. I should not put that. Admin, right? Conft. Okay, RESTCONF is the first command. Okay, after we enable RESTCONF, what protocol RESTCONF uses? HTTP. So you should make this router as HTTP server. How to make it? IP HTTP server. Okay, and then we can authenticate. We can provide that normal local authentication only. For that, IP HTTP authentication. If I didn't type the spelling, local. Okay, this is one. And then IP HTTP secure server. Now this router became what? Now this router became HTTP server, which can be used or which can take requests from using HTTP and provide responses. This router do have that capability now. So now we'll try to get some information from this router and try to put some information, like post some information. We'll do that. You will understand when we do only. I'll give you this Jupyter notebook after this class. You can just use it and practice. Without practice, no practice, you can't do anything. So this is Postman. I don't want to tell you everything about this Postman because this is very nice tool, but you should just start using it so that you'll get used to it. Okay, here you can just put this interfaces and like this URL here and host and port. Just do it normally for the first time, and then after that I'll tell you the easier way. First you should know the hard way. First you should cross those thorns to get that flowers, petals, philosophy. Okay, and one more thing I realized just now. 443 is the port number. Okay, when you want to connect RESTCONF, you are supposed to connect in on 443. Okay, just send. And this RESTCONF is the base, or what to say, data. and this data is the that thing I said, right? This RESTCONF is the root, and data is like I said, right? Data of the configuration. IETF interface is the Yang model, and interfaces is the container. So we should get all the interfaces. We didn't got. Why? Access denied. No authorization. Nothing we filled. So go here. Put some authorization. Yeah. Admin is for 1234. Yes, it is right. Now send request. Will fail. Oh, okay. See, we got all the information in XML format. So if you want this information in JSON format, we should add that header. I told you, right? Header, everything will be realized after some time. So what is the header? Yang JSON is the header. Put this header here and send that. Now we got information in JSON. Beautiful key value pairs. Okay. That is get. Now we want to put something. We want to create an interface. How? Creating means CRUD operation. Create operation. What is it? Post. So put post, and let's create loopback. Let's create one loopback. I forgot correctly, but interfaces. Let me check it out. Uh, yeah, same thing, but in the body we'll put this body to create this type of interface with this IP address. Go to raw and here make it JSON and put it here. That's it. Okay, added with RESTCONF. And we cannot post like this. We can also put this information in the URL, but it looks very bad. And now we should also put content type header, because how it knows what type of content you posted. That is why we should put content type header. Content type. What is the content type we kept? JSON only. So put JSON only. Send. See, beautifully we got 201 created. I told you, right? 200 codes are sub TK codes. All good codes. So created. Let's verify. Do show IP int brief. See. See. This is the ticket. This is the interface we created using HTTP, using RESTCONF. Let's delete this. I don't want it. Delete. Put delete. Delete method. Delete the record. What record? That interfaces record. So body we don't need anything. We can just remove it. And here we should specify that particular interface. How can we specify? Interface. How we know all this? How I know all this? For every API we do have API documentation which we are supposed to read and understand and then use it. Bad request. What? Invalid parameter. Why? Okay, it should not be this. It should be this one. After interface it should be slash. See, 204 now, no content, nothing to display because you said delete. I deleted. Just see now. Show IP int brief. Do show yaar. See, no interface. So we hit that particular router in the sandbox and we performed CRUD. we got interface information. We posted one, we created one interface, we deleted interface also. And you can be more specific, like I want gigabit ethernet one interface details only. I don't want all the interfaces details. And see, we got only gigabit internet. We can filter like that also. So what is the use of all this? How network automation is nothing but interacting with network devices programmatically. We are using HTTP and we are just getting this information. How can we interact? How can we use it programmatically? That's your question. If that is your question, we got something called code here. This is the code. Control C and go to this Jupyter notebook and put it here. See, this is the code. See, like this. Using Python script, you are sending HTTP requests. What is the module enabling this request module? Using this request module, we are sending HTTP requests to that network device. And we are supposed to, we can make anything, right? If this interface is down, do this. If it is up, do this. Something like that. We can programmatically interact and put logic here. So if we run this thing, we got some error. What is that error? SSL certification error. How to comma verify. I don't want SSL anything. Now, no comma, right? Just run it now. Just verify do home. Yeah, verify the string. Yes. Now it should work. I'm sorry. I kept equal to this. It should work. I'm very sorry. I should not put it here. See, we got information. This is the Python script. Using Python, we are able to get this. What is the type of this response? Type of response. String type, because we kept text. Let me remove this. Now, say response. Okay, this is in proper JSON response. We can just use that JSON.loads. That thing is there now. We can use that and we can convert into dictionary also, and we can do our network automation thing. Okay, if we remove this and put interfaces, just interfaces, then what will happen? We'll get all the information about. Okay, remove that type. We got all the interface information. Good, clear. So I'll give you this Jupyter notebook. Okay, I'll download it and I'll share you this so that you can do this. Okay, please do ask me any doubts or we'll wrap it up here. We started from understanding API and what are the how API is used, like using HTTP to do this API way, and API HTTP API request methods, request components, and we also check this structure HTTP request resource, and we put question mark and put this. That means we are filtering this output. That is called query parameter, and resource is the API. Okay, and we also discussed response codes, and we discussed how API becomes REST API, and RESTCONF protocols, and what is the structure. This structure is very important. Okay, and how we can enable RESTCONF in the network device, and we also played with that open weather API, and 443 is the port. Okay, and after that we got something, we got all the interfaces information. We can also filter these interfaces to get only one interface information, and we posted something. We created loopback using this body means the one which we sent, the body of JSON body or anything. Headers are something like accept content type, it can be anything, and sometimes authorization headers. As per the API documentation we are supposed to put the headers, authentic authorization, username, password. Okay, and we deleted that loopback interface. Do this, you will understand all the things. Okay, and from Postman do have this very good feature to get as Python code. We just took that Python code and we put this verify false to ignore that SSL certification authorization, and we got the thing. How good it is. That's all about RESTConf. And in the next lecture or next class we'll definitely go deep into RESTConf, like how, what type of data we get and how we manipulate the data and use it for our application. Okay, we'll do that, and hope you learned something new today. Lot of things, right? I'll definitely share you this documentation so that you will not forget them, and do read this documentation, and play with that weather API also, so that you will have some understanding. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Tomorrow we'll meet, and may God bless you all. Bye.